Disclaimer: this report is an independent journalistic analysis prepared by Xailingam Media for informational and documentary purposes only. Xailingam Media neither endorses nor opposes any political group, organization, or government stance. All content is based on publicly available reports, government notifications, and open-source references. Viewers are encouraged to subscribe to Xailingam Media for more in-depth reports, balanced perspectives, and critical insights into ongoing conflicts and regional issues. The story of the National Socialist Council of Nagaland, Khaplang, widely known as NSCN-K, has once again reached the forefront of Northeast India's political and security discourse. This time it was not because of a major ambush, a peace talk, or a truce, but rather a direct confrontation of narratives between the Government of India and the armed organization itself. In the wake of the Ministry of Home Affairs' decision to declare NSCN-K, along with all its wings, factions and front organizations, as an unlawful association for the next 5 years, the organization responded with strong words. According to statements attributed to its spokespersons in regional outlets, NSCN-K viewed this move as nothing short of a declaration of war. For them, this was not just a bureaucratic notification or a legal categorization under the Unlawful Activities, Prevention Act, UAPA. It was a symbolic strike against their movement, their ideology, and their claim over the Naga struggle for sovereignty. The phrase, like declaring war, carries a heavy weight in the political theatre of Northeast India. It signals not only defiance, but also an intention to reject the legitimacy of the Government of India's approach. By using such language, NSCN-K seems determined to frame itself as a political military entity under siege, one that is being deliberately cornered. This is a common rhetorical tactic in insurgent communication, to portray government actions as aggression, thereby rallying supporters and projecting resilience. Yet behind this dramatic reaction lies the carefully worded, legal, and methodical statement issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Dated 22nd September 2025, the notification listed in painstaking detail the reasons why NSCN-K has been categorized as unlawful. It highlighted the group's alleged involvement in multiple violent incidents, links with other banned outfits, procurement of arms, extortion networks, and acts deemed detrimental to India's sovereignty and integrity. The most striking points of the notification included allegations of NSCN-K's direct involvement in killing 13 underground cadres during confrontations with police and security forces, registration of 71 criminal cases against its cadres, 51 other criminal activities, and the recovery of a massive cache of arms, ammunition, explosives and materials. This was not a vague accusation. The government laid down precise numbers, charge sheets and seizures, framing a narrative of a heavily armed and dangerous outfit operating beyond acceptable limits. When analysed closely, one realises that both narratives, NSCN-K's claim of being attacked through political suppression and the Government of India's claim of dealing with a threat to sovereignty, are part of a larger cycle that has defined insurgency politics in Nagaland and the surrounding regions for decades. To understand this clash, one must revisit the historical positioning of NSCN-K founded in 1988. After a split from the original NSCN, the Khaplang faction based itself strongly in the Myanmar frontier, building camps across the porous border. Its late leader SS Khaplang became synonymous with the faction's transnational operations, particularly its links with groups like ULFA, IPLA, and other insurgent outfits of the Northeast. Over the years, NSCN-K developed a reputation for providing safe havens, forging alliances, and carrying out deadly ambushes on Indian security forces. One of the most remembered episodes came in June 2015, when NSCN-K cadres launched a deadly ambush in Manipur's Shandal district, killing 18 Indian Army personnel. The attack shook New Delhi, triggering a rare cross-border strike by Indian forces into Myanmar. That episode cemented NSCN-K's image as one of the most formidable insurgent outfits in the region. Since then, however, internal divisions, leadership crises after Khaplang's death in 2017, and increasing pressure from security forces have weakened the outfit's operational reach. Yet, the group has survived, often retreating into Myanmar jungles and occasionally resurfacing with joint operations or extortion activities. The Government of India's latest notification paints a picture of an organization that, despite its weakened condition, continues to maintain links with anti-India groups, smuggle arms and train cadres. By documenting the recovery of 69 arms, 52 magazines, over 900 live rounds, grenades, detonators, explosives and improvised explosive devices, the state is essentially telling the public that NSCN-K remains a potent threat, even if it is no longer as dominant as in the past. But what is equally interesting is how this declaration fits into the broader political roadmap. The government of India has been engaged in decades-long peace negotiations with various Naga groups, most notably the NSCN-K under the Framework Agreement of 2015. At the same time, several smaller Naga factions have entered ceasefire arrangements. By contrast, NSCN-K has often been the outlier, refusing long-term agreements and maintaining its hardline stance. Declaring it unlawful for another 5 years could be seen as both an administrative necessity and a political signal. Groups that do not come to the negotiation table will face the full weight of the law. From the NSCN-K perspective, however, this is yet another attempt to delegitimize the Naga political struggle. When their spokespersons claim that banning them is like declaring war, it is a reminder that insurgent movements thrive on symbolism. For them, the act of being banned is not simply about losing legal standing. It is about being pushed further into the category of resistance, one where every crackdown is turned into a rallying cry. The timing of the ban is also noteworthy. Between September 2020 and April 2025, as the notification records, multiple cases were documented against NSCN-K cadres. These included arrests, surrenders and seizures, but equally significant is the regional context. Nagaland, Manipur and Arunachal Pradesh have all seen turbulence with overlapping ethnic and insurgent conflicts. By securing state government recommendations before issuing the notification, the Ministry of Home Affairs has ensured a united administrative front. This is important, for insurgency politics in the northeast often thrives when state and central agencies appear divided or inconsistent. Another dimension worth examining is the cross-border factor. NSCN-K has historically leveraged the Indo-Myanmar frontier, using it as both a sanctuary and a logistical base. Reports of training camps, arms supply routes, and alliances with Myanmar-based insurgents have often placed the outfit in a unique position. Declaring it unlawful once again reflects India's intention to limit its ability to mobilize across the border. Yet, this is also where challenges lie. Without robust cooperation from Myanmar, enforcement will remain partial. Security analysts have pointed out that organizations like NSCN-K are often weakened not just by direct military action, but by drying up their networks of extortion and alliances. In Nagaland and neighboring regions, underground taxation has long been a contentious issue. Businessmen, government employees, and contractors have often complained of parallel taxation by insurgent groups. The notification's reference to extortion from businessmen and officials indicates that this remains a core concern. From a sociological perspective, however, the banning of NSCN-K raises complex questions. While the government frames it as a law and order issue, for many Naga communities, such organizations are not merely armed groups but political representations, however controversial. The long history of insurgency in Nagaland is deeply intertwined with identity, self-determination, and grievances against the Indian state. Therefore, each ban, each crackdown, often fuels a cycle of alienation, even when the groups in question are deeply violent. This tension is visible in the contrast between the government's legalistic detailing and NSCN-K's emotive rhetoric. The former speaks of cases, arms, and laws. The latter speaks of war, struggle, and resistance. The truth, as always, lies in the intersection of these narratives, where violence, politics, and identity collide. Looking ahead, the implications of this declaration are manifold. For security forces, it provides a renewed legal mandate to intensify operations against NSCN-K cadres, their sympathizers, and networks. For the political dialogue process, it highlights the shrinking space for hardline groups. For ordinary civilians, particularly in border areas, it could mean both increased security measures and potential disruptions if NSCN-K chooses to retaliate symbolically. The broader northeast insurgency landscape is also shifting. Groups like Ulfa-I remain active though under pressure, while several others have either entered peace processes or fragmented. In this evolving picture, NSCN-K's relevance may diminish further unless it reinvents itself or merges with other outfits. The government's strategy appears to be one of attrition, slowly erode their capacity until they are forced to either disband or negotiate from a weakened position. However, history also cautions us that insurgent groups rarely disappear entirely through bans. They adapt, splinter, and sometimes resurface years later. The challenge, therefore, is not merely legal suppression, but addressing the deeper political questions of representation, autonomy, and identity that fuel such movements. NSCN-K's defiance, labeling the ban as an act of war, shows that despite its weakened state, the organization still seeks to control the narrative. Whether it can back this rhetoric with meaningful action is uncertain. What is certain is that the Ministry of Home Affairs has drawn a clear line, one that positions NSCN-K firmly outside the legal political fold for the next 5 years. In the coming months, attention will turn to how NSCN-K reacts on the ground. Will it attempt high-profile strikes to prove its relevance? Will it retreat further into Myanmar's jungles? Or will it splinter further, as has often been the case with insurgent outfits under pressure? The answers will shape not just the trajectory of NSCN-K, but also the wider dynamics of insurgency in the northeast. At the same time, the government's handling of other Naga groups in negotiation will be crucial. If dialogue progresses meaningfully with those at the table, the isolation of NSCN-K will become more pronounced. But if talks stall, the narrative of exclusion may fuel resentment that outfits like NSCN-K can exploit. For now, the clash of words tells its own story. An organization claims that banning it is akin to war. A government asserts that the organization is unlawful, dangerous, and unacceptable. Between these positions lies the lived reality of people in the region, who have witnessed decades of conflict, negotiation, and fragile peace. This declaration, then, is not just a legal act. It is part of the long and complex saga of the Naga struggle, where every move carries layers of meaning, history, and consequence. Xailingam Media encourages viewers to subscribe to our platform for continuous, in-depth coverage of regional affairs, insurgency dynamics, and conflict analysis. Our reports are prepared independently with respect for accuracy, balance, and responsible journalism.